Geely's NEV lineup used to be somewhat simple. You see, Zeekr used to do the posh EVs and Lynk&Co did the plug-in hybrids, and then Lynk&Co decided to launch the Z10 EV, and Zeekr thought the hybrids were fair game with the upcoming 9X, and now the family tree looks like spaghetti. This is essentially a hybrid version of Lynk&Co's Z10 EV. Why? Well, you know what they say about strokes and folks. This is a Lynk&Co 10 EMP. I'm Will, and this is China Driven. While it's tempting to call the 10 EMP just a hybrid version of the Lynk&Co Z10, that's kind of a lazy take because underneath the skin, they're completely different. You see, the Lynk&Co Z10 is running on Geely's SEA architecture. That's an architecture that's built ground up for electric vehicles. The Lynk&Co 10 EMP, well, that's running on the CMA Evo platform, an updated version of the original Volvo and Geely CMA platform. It was built to run everything from ICE vehicles to hybrids to even a handful of EVs. Think Polestar 2, Volvo XC40 and C40, but it was never built to be a dedicated EV platform like SEA. At launch, Lynk&Co 10 EMP starts at 192,000 RMB, roughly 25,500 USD, while the larger battery model starts at 208,000 RMB, which is just under $29,000. In the lower models, you get an 18.4 kilowatt-hour battery with 120 kilometers of pure EV-only range, whereas the larger 38.2 kilowatt-hour battery has a longer 240 kilometers of claimed EV-only range. Now, that is all on the CTLC, so expect about 20% less in the real world. Now, that larger 38.4 kilowatt-hour battery is actually one of Geely's golden LFP batteries, which means fast recharge times. They quote, strangely, 10 to 60% in under 13 minutes or 30 to 80% in under 15. The 1.5-litre turbo claims to return 4.2 litres 100 kilometers when the battery is in depleted mode. And with its 60-litre fuel tank and a fully charged battery, Lynk&Co say this 10 EMP could do a combined 1,400 kilometers. If you like a look of Lynk&Co's all-electric Z10, you'll like this, because it's basically the same shape, just with a few different flourishes here and there. The face? All cars have them. Ask any kid. Some are cute, some are handsome. This one looks like an alien who's spotted his first human and doesn't know whether to shake his hand or probe you. These daytime running lights, well, they stretch all the way back into the rear quarter panel with the same single-minded determination of a fat kid going for the last piece of cake. The beltline sweeps up dramatically towards the rear, slicing the quarter glass in half. Combined with the blacked-out pillars and roof, it accentuates the low fastback styling. It's sleek, but it's meaty too. Those rear shoulders are as wide and round as a powerlifter, giving the back end a planted, confident stance. There's a rear spoiler that pops up when it senses you're trying to have some fun. The 19-inch wheels, I can't decide if they look like throwing stars or some straight-edge flower petals. These 20-inch rims we have, well, they're more sedate. Say what you will about hybrids, all in all, this is a great-looking car.
Now, this interior actually was not the interior I was expecting to have today. It's a nice surprise because the other interior pretty much looks exactly the same as the Z10s, although it does look a little bit more upmarket than the Z10 because it has quilted leather, where the Z10 is just kind of like smooth leather, so it does give it a more premium feeling inside. However, I have the sportier Alcantara interior. So all the way up here on the dash is Alcantara headlight, Alcantara on the door cards, and also this leather and Alcantara steering wheel. You also get that contrast luminous yellow stitching and contrast yellow seat belts. So yeah, very kind of sporty interior in here, and it's nice and comfortable. I really like it. I actually prefer, I sat in the other interior earlier when I was driving Mark's car from inside China Auto, and I prefer this interior to that interior. In terms of things in here, it's the same as the Z10. The screens and the kind of layout in here is exactly the same. So you get the same 25.66-inch AR, augmented reality. Basically what that means, it's got an arrow that kind of points and directs you to where you're going as you're driving down the road. Also has navigation data on there, your kind of speed and all of that, and also can have ADAS visualization on there as well. And then below that, behind this absolutely lovely little chunky wheel, I really do like this wheel, there is a 12.66-inch digital instrument panel, but it's just a super slither of a panel, a returning feature of other Lynk&Co cars as well. And the center screen, it's a touch screen of course, it is 15.4 inches, 2.5K, and all of this is being driven, as you would expect, by a Snapdragon 8295, the kind of industry standard. It looks like you've got dual wireless phone charging pads here, but you don't actually. There's only one, which is a 50-watt ventilated charging pad. Behind you, you've got a couple of cup holders. Underneath here, you've got a fridge in which you can store up to about 12 cans of Coke. Going back to this, although it looks kind of comically small, it actually solves a big gripe I have with fridges in this center console, which is this allows me a place to keep my driving license, and in China you have like a little blue book. There's also a glove box. I know that's important to some people. You get a 23 speaker Harman Kardon system. It's 1,600 watts and it's got 7.1.4 spatial audio. The big kind of part of it is up here on the dash. There is a speaker. If you turn on the AC, you will see that it will rise and there are air vents there. These front seats, they've got heat, ventilation and massage, and so do the rears. The screen is snappy and responsive. It's running Flyme OS, which is made by, I believe, Meizu, the phone company. So you've got these widget cards down the bottom, and if you press them, you basically can make them into large, big cards, and you can see more functions. So that's kind of a little neat integration there. Okay, so in the back, first things first, headroom. It's not amazing in here, really, to be honest with you. I got one fist and I'm only 1.7 meters. So if you're like 1.85, 1.9 meters, it's going to be cramped in the back of here, headroom-wise. Knee-room-wise, I mean, I've got loads of space between me and the chair in front. It's a lot of space in here, really, really decent. In terms of what there is back here, well, you've got air outlets here on the B pillar, nice big ones, which is lovely. But you also have some down here as well. Although this is only, I believe, 2-zone AC, you have 2 sets of outlets on each side. That's quite nice. You also get 2 USB-Cs as well for charging, which is always a double thumbs up. Hate it when there's only one. You also have seat recline function as well. So I'm actually sat quite upright and it goes a fair way back, although it does take a bit of time. There we go. You also have this very wide central armrest, and inside it you've got somewhere to store stuff. There's a little charging cable here, for example. But you've also got this little LCD panel, which you unlock it, allows you to put on things like the ventilated seats, the massage back here, and you can change through the massage modes as well. Nice and wide, 2 people can easily share it without fighting. You've got a couple of cup holders back here. You've also got a table as well if you want to do some work over on the passenger side, and you can also move that passenger seat forwards, crush my cameraman, to move it out of your way if you want even more space sat on that side. Also in the back, you are able to call the voice assistant. It's got 4 zones for you to call it. It's an AI voice system, and in China, it has DeepSeek integrated into it. So, you know, you can ask it different questions and it will kind of give you some answers. AI integration into cars is becoming a bigger and bigger thing in China, and they're really starting to maximize the different things that you can do with it, and also make it very user-friendly. So even people who have no idea about AI or how to use it, you know, it's fairly straightforward. You just say, hey, I want to eat blah, blah, blah in this area, and it's going to help you find it.
In terms of propulsion, a Lynk&Co Z10 EMP, you have an engine and 2 electric motors. The 1.5 turbo has 120 kilowatts and 220 Newton meters, but mainly acts to recharge the battery. The P3 on the front axle is the stronger of the 2 electric motors with 180 kilowatts and 350 Newton meters, whilst the rear P4 motor has 90 kilowatts and 150 Newton meters.
So in total, that means that this has 390 kilowatts and 755 Newton meters of torque. But it doesn't really feel like that, and that's because those are all just those numbers added up. That's not truly how much torque is kind of being driven into the ground. Now, this isn't slow, 5.9 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. If you punch it, it picks up very nicely. And in these EMI and this EMP from Geely, they say that even when the battery gets low, you won't see a huge drop-off in performance. So that's definitely a positive, because that can always be a big bugbear of extended range EVs and other hybrids. Now, I did say that this has two motors. So it's got one on the front axle, which is the more powerful motor, and a smaller, less powerful one on the rear. And basically what that means is this has on-demand all-wheel drive, which is good for economy because it will decouple when you don't need it, and when you need it, it comes on. And it is really like, they say 30 milliseconds for it to react. So, you know, less than a blink of an eye. Don't quote me on that. I'm not actually quite sure how fast a blink of an eye is. I'll put it down here. In terms of suspension, you're on aluminium double wishbone up front and a multi-link in the rear. So, you know, it steers quite nicely. I would probably say, I haven't driven the Z10, but I would guess that this might be a little bit more nose heavy, just because it's got the engine and the gearbox at the front. And I believe the Z10 is 50-50 weight distribution. This is probably more something like 55-45. But generally, you know, it steers really nicely. It's really progressive. It can hold a corner, and in some spirited driving, yeah, I found it actually quite fun. Without air suspension or CEC, this is not the most like cloud-like ride, but it kind of goes into this kind of sporty nature. The way this thing steers, it's not the fastest car in the world when you compare it to like EVs, but I mean, you know what? Actually, in a few twisters, I do like the way that this goes around a corner. And for some people, that's kind of what they want, something to commute in. Something decently comfortable, but when they want to put their foot down and go somewhere and have a bit of fun, it's able to do that as well. Okay, so there's a weird thing about this. Now, the way that this accelerates, it's not like manic. It doesn't punch you in the back. It definitely surges. And this surges up to about 80 kilometers an hour. And then there's a bit of a torque dip, to be honest with you. And at 88 kilometers an hour, the engine kicks in and it continues to surge. So these are obviously pre-production cars, so all of that might be tuned out. So, you know, it might not actually be a thing once these get delivered to customers. But right now, there is a tiny bit of a torque dip between 80 and 88 kilometers an hour. I know it sounds really specific, but you can definitely feel it. You know, I did wonder who would buy this kind of car. Turns out my cameraman, he says he's interested in it because he doesn't want a full EV, but he's quite open to having a hybrid, something like this. Says it looks good, it's got a good range of electricity, and you know, he's not ready to make the full switch over to pure electric yet. One thing this car has made me really think about is I've got to drive the Lynk&Co Z10, because that thing I think might be even more fun than this.
Okay, in terms of ADAS, I'll just run through the hardware now. This uses in the top spec at least, a Thor U-chip with 700 tops. And it also has a LiDAR as standard. This one up here, little dinky LiDAR, that's actually the RoboSense from RoboSense. And compared to other LiDARs you see normally on cars, that one is incredibly small. Now, this has apparently G-Pilot H7, which in Geely speak basically means this is like the mid-range of their ADAS. You've got the H9 all the way at the top. Now, they say this has door-to-door navigation assist, which kind of sounds like some sort of delivery service feature rather than an ADAS feature. But basically it means, you know, parking space to parking space. It means basically you get in it and it will drive from A to B without your need for intervention, or at least that's what it's supposedly capable of. There's only one problem. A lot of these features, they're not actually ready yet. They're coming via OTA at some time in the future. That's why I'm not driving it and showing you. So who is the Lynk&Co Z10 EMP for? Simple. People who like the Lynk&Co Z10 but want a hybrid, and I know that makes EV purists break out in cold sweats, but relax, no one's asking you to buy it. And honestly, a stylish hybrid like this is still a far better habit than America's ongoing F-150 love affair with lazy V8s the size of small islands, and this still has more torque.